lights are, and we'll get started. Thank you. Well, hello. Hello, and welcome to Community Forum 2.0. I am Paula Miller, and many of you, like me, attended our first forum in January 2020, and we promised we'd be back. Who knew it was going to take 5 years in a pandemic? Yet, here we are, looking strong, dedicated to making a difference for the residents of Lincoln Park. Who was here in 2020? All right. And we've got about half and half, so you are in for a treat. There have been many volunteers and leaders of our community who've been working together to recognize the assets each one of you bring with you. And tonight is an opportunity to highlight these resources and give us all a chance to network. This is a time to bring our best to the forefront and work together for the well-being and social development of Lincoln Park. I really want to recognize our mayor, Lori Coleman, and the many city council members, Judge Clifton, Tom Carnes, Karen Clemente, all supporters and leaders who will be closely collaborating with us. We are so grateful for such strong support. I ask you, if you haven't already, please sign in. There are extra sign-in sheets on your table. If you could do that as clearly as possible so that we can have a way of following up with you after tonight. There's an agenda also on your table, and we will do our best to keep things moving along, knowing that your time is valuable and how honored we are to have you gathered with us tonight. So enjoy the companionship, the cookies, and for your information, if you didn't know, restrooms are available down this long hall. With that, let me introduce another founding member of our Social Development Coalition, Kara Hildebrand.
Thank you. All right. We've got some slides here. And we've got these goals. So before I start into the goals, it's important to know where this started. This started in around 2018 with Matt Koppler, who at the time was the city manager for Lincoln Park. And he said to me, hey Kara, will you go to a meeting with me at the Lafayette Schools, the parent resource room? I said, sure. And so we both came away from that meeting realizing there are amazing resources within the city, and that we also realized that there are all these needs within the city, but they weren't always finding each other. And so that began the conversation of, all right, how do we want to do this? How do we want to make sure that everybody who has needs in the city of Lincoln Park actually can access the resource? And so that's where it came into being, where we gathered with city council people. At the time, Larry Kelsey was on that. Tom Carnes helped with that. So many have helped along the way. And so this is where it came from, this sense of we want the city of Lincoln Park to thrive. We want its residents to thrive. And so these are the goals that we have come up with. That we enhance the social needs of residents by focusing on the resources in the community. We're not asking to reinvent the wheel, we're just asking for better communication. And that we keep residents, service providers, and government in the same loop. So we also realize that the city council at times, they would go, man, we get these questions, residents will ask us these questions about where they can find a resource, and we don't know. And so it's like, all right, how can we resource and help one another so that any city council person, the moment a resident goes, where can I find help? They know where to access that information. And then work towards simplifying residents' access to services and care. And so the Lincoln Park Social Development Coalition that we have called ourselves is looking to actually, we have started the process of formalizing the existing ad hoc volunteers into becoming a part of the integration of the city of Lincoln Park. And that as the new official body would serve the mayor, council, and staff by advising the city about actions that can improve the social well-being of residents. And so we are very focused on the social well-being of residents. And with that, I invite our former city planner, Leah, to come up and talk a little more through the history that we have experienced. She has been with us since the beginning, helping us out.
So I'm so delighted to see so many alumni here. I think that is just absolutely terrific. I hear, oh, going the wrong way. Okay, there we go. So as Kara said, my favorite part about the story that I'm going to tell is that it was going before I got there, and it continues after I have sort of transitioned into some other things. And that was the goal that we have always had, is to create a structure that was sturdy enough to serve the city, regardless of whose shoulder was at the wheel at the time. And so when I was brought on in late 2019, it was this group had already been meeting in the basement at Paris Church, in a room at Paris Church. It was a group of volunteers. There were service providers, there were council members, there were members of the clergy, and really talking about that question that Paris said. We have these great services, we have people in need, how can we better connect them? And so there was going to be a community forum. I was asked to facilitate it, and so I came on and said, okay, well, what is it that we need to do to really make this happen? And so we hosted a wonderful community forum. We focused on bringing providers together to ask what the needs were, what services we had, how we could better collaborate with them. And so after that, so in the process, actually, of bringing that together, we said, okay, well, we need a list of the services that exist here. That's a good place to start. And we discovered that there was another member of the community, another group in the community, Paula at St. Michael All Angels, who had already put that resource guide together with an intern. So now, after the forum, we had a group of volunteers, we had a presence in the community, we had some capacity, and we had this resource guide that was an actual product that we had worked on. Well, that was a pretty good foundation. How can we turn this sort of one-time event into the sort of sturdy structure that we wanted to see going forward that would continue to serve the residents of Lincoln Park? So, Paula has been just miraculous in securing capacity. So there have been several interns. There's almost never been a time when there wasn't one. She secured a grant for us at a time when it really was helpful to formalize what we were doing into like an actual proposal that was on the slide that you saw before. So since, if you came to the forum before, since we saw you last, we have conducted a more formal needs assessment. We went door to door, we went to the library, we went to the summer concert series, we went to basically anyone who talked to us and said, what are the needs here in the city? We also talked to providers. We took a provider survey, wanting to know not just who is in the community, but how can we better work together. And then we had this idea to really, the city government was always connected, but we really wanted to make that structure as firmly connected as possible so that, as we said, the services would continue to be in a good loop with the city leadership. And so the idea that we had was to borrow from the structure that serves a lot of needs in the community. So we often have an environmental committee, we often have a planning commission, we often have a parks and recreation committee. Those are structures that exist in communities all over the state, all over the country, really. And almost none of them, we can only find two in Canada, none of them have a structure like that that serves the social development needs of the community. And so we said, well, we would like to be the first at doing that. And so we put together a formal proposal. We presented it to the City of Lincoln Park Council in May of 2024. We had wonderful support at that meeting. They were delightfully receptive, and so have been moving since then to really integrate that structure into the city's working, so that again, it's a sturdy structure that serves us as well as it possibly can. So we've had new interns, we have updated that community resource guide, we've maintained that ever since the beginning. There are bylaws in progress, and you know things have gotten serious when there are bylaws in progress, so that's definitely a sturdy structure there. And so now here we are at a new revolution here at our second community forum, building on the success that we've had and thinking about how to use those structures to really move us forward. And I just want to say, I came to this I was the city's planner through my consulting firm, and so I've worked all over the state in a variety of communities. I have not really seen anything quite like the spirit here in Lincoln Park, the sort of can-do, the put your shoulder to the wheel, that there's a problem and now we're going to solve it. And so I really hope that you are, anyways, I hope that you are inspired today through some of the really awesome events that we have to, while you are here, while you have your time, with us, to be a part of that and to want to be a part of the structure as it moves forward. So I am going to introduce you to Dr. Becky Guzman, who is going to lead us through one of those activities.
Thank you. There we go. Now have a little bump on face. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to spend some time getting to know each other. One of the things that we identified is that people are providing services. You may know your neighbor, but how is it that we're going to introduce ourselves here in this room? And so how many of you are familiar with the concept of speed dating? Okay, we're not going to be dating, but we are going to be networking. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is, at your table, we're going to have 1 minute. Yes, 1 minute, where we're going to meet one person, and then we're going to have 5 rounds, where you're going to have a minute to introduce yourself. Okay, so everybody's encouraged to participate, okay? It really helps when everybody is excited and motivated. We want to make sure that you have your name tag on so that you know who you are meeting. And again, we're going to have 5 rounds. You'll have 30 seconds to introduce yourself and another 30 seconds to listen to the other person introduce themselves to you. And then you'll hear a bell. Right? Can you all hear that? And that means that your minute is up. Okay? And I'll probably say, switch, and then find someone from another table, okay, to introduce yourself to. And part of that introduction is not only your name, but what excites you. What's important to you about Lincoln Park? If you live here, if you work here, if you play or worship here, what is it that excites you about Lincoln Park? And you have to do that in 30 seconds, all right? So we're going to do a practice round. We're going to do a practice round at your table. So are we ready to do our practice round? Everybody ready to meet somebody at your table? Okay, ready, go!
I work for the city. I'm the mayor of Lincoln Park. I'm a 33-year resident. I love to meet people.
I'm from the schools, behavior specialist in the schools. Yeah. Yeah. See ya.
Because I know
Like,
gotta wait here. Very nice.
Oh goodness. I'm Don Belinsky. I'm also a lifelong Lincoln Park resident. Been here for 33 years.
33 years?
Yes, I have all my life.
Why have you doubled? I've been a Lincoln Park resident for 66 years.
You got me down.
A little bit off and on. So what do you love about Lincoln Park?
We care about our community and our surroundings. We take pride in it.
I agree with you.
Okay.
What you see here is a lot of people that have voted hours and hours, days and days, and even years, trying to get what it is that they want to get. It's basically getting help to people that need it.
Yes, it's easier said than done.
It is.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I can do two.
You can do too.
I'm Jen.
Hi,
Hi, Jen.
Give you a card.
I'm
with
Don.
Lincoln Park Presbyterian Church.
I'm Lincoln Park Television.
Get in the
This was
television.
like an interview.
What it is? We gotta get you on the camera. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of it. It's Lincoln Park Presbyterian.
Yes.
Okay, that's Karis.
Paris Church, yes.
All right.
And I'm involved with the church to be involved with Lincoln Park, but my husband's grandmother was very active in the city until she passed away in 2010. So I have that connection.
What was her name?
Juanita Gentry. She worked with the seniors in the band church.
Well, it's good to see another generation taking torch.
Well, I've lived here for 66 years.
Yeah,
and
so yeah, my
I'm sure
mother-in-law
that
graduated from here. My husband's aunts. So
your mother.
I don't know what 69.
So she probably would have graduated right 1973, 1970.
Yeah, I think that's why.
Very nice. Thank you so
Sorry, I
much.
didn't get hear from you guys. I apologize. I gave you a
That's all right.
card,
I'm the former mayor of the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Oh, it's right there. Okay. And you're with the cable.
I'm with the cable. My kids went to high school here.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
And he is always volunteering.
Yep.
Getting people on
No, he
tape,
does.
right?
He does the council meetings.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, nice
Yep.
to meet you both.
Nice to meet you too.
It's so exciting to see that everybody is eager to, so I would suggest that we start moving back to our tables. So we spent the last few minutes really just kind of introducing ourselves and meeting new people and finding out what excites us about Lincoln Park. And so I'm going to move us forward. I invite Tara. Oh, the producers. Tara and Annie, you want to come on up? So Tara and Kenny are the student interns. Tara is from Our Lady of the Lakes.
Hello and welcome again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to see you all here. This is a new and very great experience with me. I've had so much fun in the city of Lincoln Park. I currently work in the city of Detroit, so this is so homey and great. And I enjoy meeting everyone that I've been working with so far. So on the screen here, you will see just a short vision for us. As people don't develop economically unless they develop socially. And that's important because that's what all of you do. In your organizations, as you're networking with one another, you understand that social environments is just as important as economic environments. And we want to continue to progress in that direction. Okay, so what you see here on the screen is a mapping of Lincoln Park. And you'll probably see a little bit of some of the organizations on here, but all of where we are located. So some of you may be located here in the middle or the outskirts of the city of Lincoln Park. But as you see there, that cluster of resources is right there in the middle. So when Kenny and I first started, our goal was to survey the city of Lincoln Park. And part of that goal was to find out where the resources are located and how do the residents have access to those resources. How do they know where the resources are located so that they can receive the services that you all have to offer? So that was our goal, to go through every block and every street to see what resources are open and how we can update our resource guide. So with that, we decided to focus on our well-being indicators, which have been just part of the foundation of building this coalition. So we wanted to focus on the physical health resources, mental health resources, substance use disorders, poverty, housing, transportation, food security, social support, and exposure to violence. So if you're wondering what's the foundation of the coalition, where we're headed, and the resources that we want to focus on, what are we doing socially to make sure that we're in the community, not only providing the services, that we're working together to provide those services. So this is what we've been working on and we'll continue to work on throughout the duration of the coalition as it stands. And so also with that, we want to make sure that our resource guide reflects the resources that are in the community. And just in addition to that, before Kenny talks about the resource guide, if you just go back here for a second, to look at this map, to see where are you located on this map? And where are you with the residents that you are supporting and helping? How are you connected to the other services that's around you? And how can you better connect with the residents? So this is what this networking is meant for. Not just so we can connect with each other, but to make sure that we're connecting with the residents that we say we definitely desperately want to service. So our goal is to make sure that the community is aware of the resources. So we created this resource guide, which has over 100 resources in it now. And Kenny did a great job, so I'll let him speak a little bit about why we created this guide and the translation from English to Spanish.
Hello, what can you do? Okay, so hi, my name is Kenny Rivera. Something that I did this for my internship was to continue the community resource guide. When I started my internship in September, one of the things that I did was look over the previous resource guide and make sure that every resource was still accurate, active, and whichever that were not, I made sure that I removed them, and then from that I proceeded to look into more. Today we added over 20 resources, making the resource guide over 120 resources available. One thing when learning about Lincoln Park was that the community is growing, the Hispanic community is growing in Lincoln Park, so we made sure that the Spanish version was available for the resource guide. And one thing I also learned about while making the resource guide was that it would never have a final version. So as the resource guide, it will always evolve and it will always continue to grow. So we're making sure that one of the things for the next interns is that they have at least somewhere to start. So for one of the things we would like you guys to do is that initiate with the research guide, and we would like for you to check it out, and then if any edits or any mistakes or anything needs to be added, make sure you write it down and let us know, and we'll obviously add that to it for the next one.
Where can we find the resource guide? You want them to do it?
Yeah, for the next 10 minutes, like whatever you think should be added, any feedback, any comments.
Hey, Kenny, how do you want them to give us their corrections that present correct on a card?
On the index card. On the index card?
Index card? Okay, you should have some index cards.
Yeah,
You
so,
can use those in case you have any corrections or additions that you want for your information, okay?
so each table is a research guide available, and make sure, you can also, if you open up your camera, you can also scan the QR code and it will take you online, you can also check it from there. From then, we will gladly like to see any comments, feedbacks, any mistakes that you might observe from there.
Thank you, Kenny. And then lastly, our resource guide is located on the City of Lincoln Park website. So you scan that QR code, it will take you there to the location. And we just want to make sure that we have the correct information on the resource guide with the services that you're currently offering. So we'll spend a few minutes doing that, and then we'll move on to our next speaker.
You'll have the QR code where you can download it from the Lincoln Park website. Because as we mentioned previously, we're simply operating with volunteers, and so we don't have a budget to print a lot of things. So that's just our reality. Yes.
I don't know if this is the time to bring this up, but I was just wondering why the elected officials were not, in the book. Because a lot of times residents have issues that they don't know who to call. So I think that if we would have had city council members, county commissioners, and the state rep that represents this area, their phone numbers, and what they can call. They can't call the state rep to pick up your garbage, but they can call city council to pick up your garbage.
That's a great example of what we're looking for you to write down on your card. Yes.
Hi, I'm one of those elected officials. I would like my name in the book. And I've served in the state, I've served county, I haven't done local, but anytime people call our office, my office always picks up and directs people to where they can go. So I think I would be a really big resource, and I like people calling. That's what my job is. My second thing, I see things about service, going to church, I think, but I don't see anything about end of life. We have funeral homes in Lincoln Park that are, maybe that might be something to include, just a suggestion.
Another great suggestion. If you could please write that on an index card, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share? It's just popping the couch.
I think you should add the map to the resource guide so people know where it's close to.
Adding the map with the resources to the guide, okay? That's another great addition.
I think the school's information, like every school have the school, so like where the school's located and phone number. If somebody just moves to the city, they know what school and the school district to contact.
Perfect. That's another great addition. Yes, because when somebody first moves to an area, that's the first thing they're looking for. What is in my area? And even if you're in real estate, it's a great tool to have for someone that you're potentially selling a home to.
We have 17 parks in our city, so it wouldn't hurt to know where the parks are.
It doesn't hurt to know where the parks are at. That's great. Those are great additions to the resource guide. Because recreation is an important factor when we're talking about wellness. Yes, sir.
You could consider adding, I can talk loud. I'm used to it. You can consider adding the 25th District Court to this because we, as a court, provide a lot of resources to people in connection with their cases, such as expungement of criminal records, driver restoration, goes on and on. They don't have to have a case to come and see us, is the point. They can walk in and say, I understand you have these resources.
That's an excellent, excellent addition. Thank you. make sure we get an index card on that one. Yes. Little League, who brought that one up? You. Okay, tell us a little bit more about that.
I noticed on social media that Lincoln Park Little League is open and recruiting. I didn't even think about teams. I mean, it's so exciting for kids to be on a team, but it's even more so for parents to get to know other parents by sitting on the sidelines. It's what got me involved in the town that I moved to when I didn't know anybody. So I think it wouldn't hurt to have Little League, soccer teams, whatever the community teams are in the park.
Great addition, make sure you write that one.
I'm writing it down.
Yes, sir.
I'll find it time. But our church, we host a Little League every same on site and everything in the whole city. So now we're the Christian Center Church. But yeah, you're right about Little League. I will. I'm gonna write that one down.
Perfect. Great. Yes.
I can speak loudly.
Okay.
Your first step, we also provide intervention education and education for folks and all different types of presentations and things like that. So maybe a section for education that's separate from schools.
Wonderful. Make sure you add that. Yes, sir, in the back.
I don't see media. No.
Media. What do you mean when you say media?
Well, newspapers, broadcasts, local television and radio that serve the area. When people have a special event or a picture they'd like to print something, they could have the contact information right there.
That's a great addition. What is the local media in the area?
And he was nice enough to bring some of these papers, you might have seen it in town. So on your way out, or when we're done with this, feel free to take a look at this great publication.
Great, thank you, Annette. Right.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm not doing the right way. Hello, everyone. My name is Stacey Lee. I've had the pleasure of working with the coalition for the past almost 4 years now. I started as a social work intern, so I want to give a really big shout out to the interns who helped make tonight possible. They're doing absolutely awesome work, and it's been really exciting to see. They're getting really close to graduation, which is exciting. And since then, I've been able to stick around, formalize the coalition, do some research, come up with a proposal, and just overall help us get us to tonight. And so, with that, I'll be leading us through our second activity. And we first want to take some time to recap the conversations we've had tonight and think about how can we start to shape the future of Lincoln Park together. I'm going to get the buttons right in a second. So first, we shared the vision of the coalition, which included how we as a city can expand how we understand and measure well-being, going beyond just economics and really recognizing and honoring the social of all of our daily lives, and especially doing so by leaning into all the strengths and the assets that we see in this room, among residents, among service providers, everyone who's connected to Lincoln Park. We also got to meet new faces and learn about other Lincoln Park organizations. And we got to talk a little bit about, and either learn about or get a refresher on, the Community Resource Guide and give some feedback on it, which will help us connect residents to resources by making sure the information is up to date. And two, beyond this event, we really encourage everyone to continue to spread awareness of the guide and all the wonderful resources within it. And so, after all that, you might be sitting there thinking, well, what's next? And so, before we get ready to leave here tonight, we hope that the connections that we built will move us forward toward the vision of Lincoln Park, where service providers are connected and better equipped to support one another, where residents can access and know how to access resources and receive the quality of care that they deserve,
where we keep doors open across all levels. And together, by connecting these dots, we can continue to build a stronger, more connected Lincoln Park, and continue just recognizing the whole person. And so, while we're here together in this room, let's use this as an opportunity to start the conversation of how do we connect these dots, how do we spread recognition, and how do we strengthen our human connections. And that leads us into our second activity for the night. So I'm going to name ICS Community Action. What we're going to be talking about is how do we turn ideas into something that we can do, and just where are we going from here? And so we're going to have a couple of folks hop out and bring really big pieces of paper to your table. And as I go through these instructions, just a little brief insight into what you'll be doing. You'll be answering 3 questions with your table mates. And so the papers coming around are so that way you can write down your answers. So if by the time we get started and you don't have a piece of paper, let us know, we'll bring one to you. And little spoiler, while we're here in this room, we may not be able to solve all the problems in 20-some minutes. There's a lot of conversations to be had and a lot of voices to be heard. But with this activity, we can at least start moving in that direction and brainstorming pathways forward. So for the instructions, you don't have to write them down as I go. There'll be some reminders on the next slide. But what you're going to do is you're going to pick a table writer. And so this person is going to write down the different conversations that you have, the answers to the questions. And so whoever has really good handwriting, it is your time to shine. And then if you want to do this right now, or wait, either one is fine, you're going to go ahead and split your paper and make 3 sections. And so on the next side, we'll have 3 questions, and you're going to write them in their corresponding sections. So this way you don't have to rewrite the question. So when you make your sections, you'll label them 1, 2, and 3. And so that way, when the questions go up, your table writer, when you're answering the responses to question 1, you'll go ahead and write them in the section labeled 1. And whether your paper is vertical or horizontal, doesn't matter, as long as you have your 3 sections. And then once we depart from this, you're going to have 10 minutes to work with your table mates to think about, discuss, and write your responses to the 3 questions that are going to be on the next slide. And then once those 10 minutes are up, we're going to come back together as a big group, and we'll have some time for volunteers to take about 30 seconds. If there's any major takeaways, something that really stood out from your conversations, so that we can share it with the big group before we all leave. And then when this is all said and done, please leave your papers on your table. We will come around and collect them. So, without further ado, these are the 3 questions that we have for you tonight. So, ideas to action. The very first thing that we should talk about is the idea. How do we take this vision that we have for Lincoln Park and not only put it down into words, but work together to create a shared vision? And our first question helps us start thinking. So, looking ahead 5 years, what do you hope life in Lincoln Park will look like for the community? And you may think back to the well-being indicators that Tara mentioned. You may think about the orgs that you met here tonight, the strengths in the community. Whatever you're thinking about, what do you hope it will look like? And then our questions 2 and 3 will help us start thinking, so where do we go from here? The actionable parts. How do we get to this vision that we have written down on our papers? And so question 2 asks us, how can today's discussion help move us toward this vision? And then question 3 is a little bit more connected to the now. You know, the conversation is just getting started. So, how can we stay connected beyond this event? These are the 3 questions you'll be talking about and writing down with your table mates. So again, choose your table writer, split your paper into 3 sections, label them, and if you want to review any of the reminders or the questions, this slide is going to stay up. And if you have any questions, feel free to flag me down, anyone else down, and we'll come around and help. With that, feel free to get started.
Ways to big issues, good.
I'm just trying to think, like, if you were involved with something, what would you say if somebody wasn't on Facebook and doesn't get a Facebook? How would you feel, like, I don't know, maybe coworkers of yours or friends?
So Snapchat has a cool feature.
So if one sounds interesting, I'll listen to it.
I have seen it.
Yep.
Perfect. If there's any other ideas that you have, and when we're done, we'll also have a chance to still mingle about, so if there's anything else you want to talk about, thank you. We'll also come around and collect all others.
Okay, we're doing dishes all by myself.
I think we need to get our school.
I think that's what I say, we need something in the school.
I was thinking about children.
Yeah.
Children.
We went to the play.
As far as like, we talked about
We're gonna take about 5 to 10 more minutes.
Mentoring opportunities and updating a resource guide and make it easily found. Is that good?
Yeah. It's always easy to post things, share things.
You get a baby.
Are very busy, right? We're all old. Oh.
There's some overlap at the tables, but that's to be predicted.
Shared values.
Participation. Before we hear out from a couple of volunteers, wanted to just make sure again to mention that please leave your papers on the table and we'll come around and collect them after. And if you have not had the time to sign in yet, please do so, because this is how we'll get information back to you. So since we won't have enough time to hear out from everyone, we're going to collect the information that you wrote down and share it back after this event. So just make sure each table should have one. If you can't find one, reach out to someone. We'll make sure you get one. And with that, does anyone have any major takeaways from your conversations with your tables that you'd like to share with the group? Any volunteers to get us going? Do you want the mic?
No, I can speak loud. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Looking ahead 5 years, we would like to keep up with technology. The new technology coming. So everybody from 100 years old to 10 years old can find information. And then for number 2, we thought collaborations and speaking up, not staying silent. You have a good idea or something, or speak up. Too many people are quiet. And then the third one, we were just social media is the easiest. And I learned stuff about Snapchat tonight.
Thank you so very much for that insights. Yeah, how do we make the things that we put out in the community accessible for everyone? The same way you just mentioned, and I know walking around, you heard some other conversations talking about the same stuff. How do we lead into social media or different means of communication to get this information out there? So thank you so much for your insights. Any other table want to share up? Yes, Annette. You want the mic?
I don't think so. Do I need a mic? We came up with more activities, and I think it's a little granular to have some diversity at our events. All of us, a lot of people here have been on commissions, and we get a lot of white baby boomers. I understand that some of our commissions, the average age is 75. So bringing in younger people, new residents, and it's not the 70s where we have a pretty much white community, that we have other people. These commissions and our activities reflect the diversity. We have fantastic concerts on Thursday night. It's one of the band shells my Becca, but a lot of time when you turn around and look at the crowd, it's pretty much white baby boomers. That does no longer reflect our community. This is the more reasons to spend money in Lincoln Park. Stop with the fast food restaurants. I've been asking for years, where's the vegetarian restaurant? Where's an Indian restaurant? So bringing in some things that we can spend our own money in our community. A lot of our restaurants are stuck in the 70s. You know, roast beef sandwiches with gravy on top and things like that. We're really harming our own people and things like that. And then mentoring opportunities. I know with the group we've talked maybe about having some mixers with English as a second language and conversational English. And I know it was mentioned in this group that people are afraid to come out and do those types of things, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have more mentoring opportunities.
Thank you very much for all that. Yeah, how do we make everything more inclusive, more representative, and bridge gaps? Thank you very much for all your insights as well. Any other table have anything that they want to share out? Any other tables? Yes?
So ours, we agree with the social media. I think that's a really nice one. That's really neat connecting. But I think community events. So I just moved here from California, but my previous job I did a lot of event planning. And so if you do not just a resource fair, but you have a resource fair with other things that are connected to it, and having people want to be drawn into that. So having I don't know, the bounce houses that have the races, or the water parks and things like that, or having a food truck event, and then having all of the resources, all of that kind of stuff that's going to bring folks in. Those are really things that you can bring all different types of people, especially if you have multiple varieties of people.
Really optimizing when we have these events, how can we get even more interest in that, people are there, we have resources, very wonderful. With that, and looking at time, we are going to go ahead and start wrapping up tonight. And just once again, thank you so much for your participation and your insights. And with that, I'm going to hand it back off to Paula.
Oh, thank you all so very, very much. What an evening we have had. And as we close, just let me again thank our presenters, Gara, Leah, Tara, Penny, Andrea, and Casey, and Becky. Thank you all so very much. And let me thank each one who has been helping us on the advisory committee, trying to get the coalition together. I think we've got Annette and Mike and a number of Jason. As a matter of fact, if I had you all stand up, I don't know that anybody would be sitting in a chair. It has been fantastic. And I tell you, if you have business cards that you want to share with one another, I don't know that we've had time to exchange cards, brochures, any other handouts you might have. Don't forget to pick up a little coalition swag. I see a couple of them looking really good here. Make sure you get a tote bag or something. They come in handy always. You never can do without a tote bag. And just, thank you for making a difference, because we know that good things can happen in Lincoln Park when we work together. So, good night, and God bless you.
I do just want to add that this is a great time where you can